Can you talk a little bit about why, um, for example, like Levitican laws, such as like getting tattoos or things like that, even though, I mean, I suppose Jesus didn't speak directly on the tattoo topic, but Jesus came and kind of, uh, I don't want to say clarified, we just talked about how that's
Yeah,
not true,
well,
but
yeah, he sheds
um,
light on
sheds
things.
light
Yeah.
on some of the laws in Leviticus and kind of upend some of the Levitican laws, why there's still so much debate nowadays about like which ones do we keep and
Mm,
which ones do we get rid of.
hmm
It's interesting that there's so much argument about that.
Yeah. I'm not sure that he upends any of them, actually.
Oh,
In a surprising way, he seems to be concerned with his disciples keeping the law. So several times he heals someone, like when he heals people of leprosy, he says to them, "Go show yourself to the priest." He's still complying and asking them to comply with the Levitical framework. Um, in fact, we often think of Jesus as the one who said, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." But he's actually quoting Leviticus. That's from Leviticus 19.
mm,
So, loving your neighbor is something Jesus is saying, yes, Leviticus said this, and we still need to be doing this. In fact, if you love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself, you'll be doing all the commands. And really, the law in the Old Testament is fleshing out all the different ways that love for God and love for neighbor should be expressed. So, for example, in Exodus, there's a law that says if you see your enemy's ox or donkey wandering away and lost, you shall return it to your enemy. Like you're not supposed to just look at it and go, oh, I know whose that is. I'm going to let that one go. It serves them right. You're supposed to take that animal back to your neighbor who doesn't like you, who is like an enemy. And if you see a donkey of one who hates you and it's fallen down under its load, you shall not pass by. Stop and help your neighbor with the load, lifting the load off of his donkey. So there's just a lot of specific ways in the Old Testament law that illustrate here's what it might look like to be a good neighbor. And Jesus says, yes, let's think about this and let's
mm,
let's lean into it.
mm,
Certainly there are changes in the New Testament because the cultural context has changed, and because of the death and resurrection of Jesus, some of the Levitical laws are not relevant in the same ways that they were. But what's so interesting is Christians often will try to divide the law into three categories: moral, civil, and ceremonial. And they'll say, well, we don't live in a theocracy, with Yahweh as our king, so we don't need the civil laws. And we don't need the ceremonial laws because we don't have a temple anymore and Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice. So all we have to pay attention to is the moral laws. But actually, the New Testament authors draw freely from all supposedly three categories. I don't
mm.
think I don't think anyone would have actually identified these as separate categories in the ancient world, but they draw freely from all of them to inform the Christian life after the death and resurrection of Jesus. I mean, the book of Hebrews makes a big deal out of the sacrificial system and the tabernacle as a means for helping us understand Christ and what he's accomplished. So if we just get rid of the book of Leviticus thinking, oh, we don't need this one anymore, we're going to lose our essential glossary for helping us understand what Christ did.
Mm.